So how do you build a world-class industry basically from scratch? And not just any industry. We're talking about one of the most complicated, capital-intensive games on the planet, biotechnology. Okay, let's really dive into this because Saudi Arabia is kicking off one of the most ambitious national projects you'll ever see, a massive, high-stakes push to become a global player in biotech. And this quote right here, this says it all. This is the vision, stated loud and clear. They don't just want a seat at the table. They want to be the host of the party. It's about becoming a central hub where the world's best innovators come to get things done. That one sentence tells you everything you need to know about the scale of this ambition.
So the goal is a global hub, but how on earth do you pull off a leap that big? It's not just about building a few fancy labs. It's about creating an entire ecosystem from the ground up, with a brand new, massive accelerator right at the heart of it all. And of course, this isn't happening in a vacuum. This whole biotech push is a cornerstone of the kingdom's much bigger plan, Vision 2030. The mission is crystal clear: diversify the economy away from its reliance on oil. And biotech, with its insane growth potential, is at the absolute top of their list.
All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's look at the blueprint for this accelerator, because it's all designed to be a magnet for global innovators. This thing is the engine that's supposed to kickstart the entire vision, pulling in the best and brightest from all over the world. And get this, the numbers right out of the gate are pretty staggering. The very first cohort has already attracted 91 biotech startups, and they're not just local, they're from 22 different countries. This is not a small pilot program, this is a huge statement of intent from day one. But what's really interesting here is the diversity. They're not just betting on one horse. I mean, look at this breakdown. The accelerator has pulled in companies working on everything from developing new drugs and diagnostics all the way to futuristic AI-driven platform technologies. It's a full-spectrum bet on the future of biotech. And the kind of support they're offering these founders? It's a whole shebang. This is not just about the science. It's about the brutal business realities of biotech. The curriculum is laser-focused on the real-world nightmares that founders face. Things like protecting your IP, navigating the maze of FDA regulations, raising money in the US, and maybe most importantly, learning how to explain your complex science to people who actually have the money. Okay, so it all sounds incredible, right? Grand vision, world-class program, lots of smart people showing up. But, and this is a huge but, this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. Because having a great program is one thing. Having the right foundation to build it on, that's something else entirely. And this leads us to the critical question that the kingdom's own strategists started asking. Right, the readiness question. Now we're going to flip the coin and look at the other side of this story. And this is based on some really candid internal reports that give a sobering, hard look at the actual foundations of the kingdom's biotech scene as it stands today. First up, let's follow the money. As a percentage of its GDP, national R&D spending is sitting at less than 1%. Now compare that to a global biotech powerhouse like Israel, which plows around 5% of its entire GDP into R&D. This one chart just perfectly illustrates the funding gap that has to be closed if you want to build a truly competitive ecosystem. Next, let's talk about density. A healthy ecosystem isn't just a few big companies, it's a critical mass of them, all packed together. You look at Boston, which is the gold standard for this stuff, they have over 200 biotech companies for every million people. The kingdom's target is to get to about 10 to 20. Now, that's a realistic goal to start with, but it really shows you just how much ground needs to be covered. Okay, here's a term you have to know: wet lab. You can't do serious biotech in a regular office building. A wet lab is an incredibly complex, highly regulated environment. And get this, it costs 5 to 10 times more to build and operate than standard commercial space. This is a massive, massive financial hurdle for any place trying to build a hub. So when those internal analysts really started digging, they found these pretty critical gaps. First, a real lack of those high-quality wet labs. Then, a shortage of experienced local scientists and mentors who've done this before. The venture capital scene, well, it wasn't really set up for the long, patient game of biotech investing. And on top of it all, there were some big question marks around the national strategy for clinical trials and turning scientific discoveries into actual products. But here's where it gets really interesting. They didn't just point out all the problems and walk away. Facing this tough reality, the reports laid out a new path forward, a really clear roadmap designed to bridge that huge gap between the vision and the reality on the ground. It all starts with understanding what's called the cluster theory. It's basically the secret sauce for every successful biotech hub on Earth. The idea is that innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. The best clusters in the world are dense, walkable ecosystems where the labs, the top hospitals, the best universities, and even the government regulators are all within about a 1-mile radius of each other.
So, based on that theory, they propose a super clear 3-step roadmap. Step 1. Build a true flagship hub in Riyadh based on that exact cluster model. Step 2. Create a government matching fund to basically de-risk the investment for private VCs, encouraging them to bet on that really hard deep tech. And Step 3. Create a regulatory sandbox so that innovators can actually get their new technologies reviewed and approved way faster. And the strategy has this really modern, clever twist. It's not about catching up to traditional biotech. It's about leapfrogging it and going straight to what's now being called tech bio. This is all about smashing together a country's strengths in things like AI and supercomputing with biology, hoping to crush drug discovery timelines from a decade down to just a couple of years.
And all of this brings us to the final analysis. What we're looking at is a nation's incredibly high-stakes bet. The vision is absolutely immense, but the challenges are just as profound. And honestly, there are lessons here for any country that's trying to build a complex new industry from the top down.
This chart just puts the financial reality in stark terms. Look, building an accelerator for software startups is one thing. Let's call that a 1x cost. The capital needed for a biotech accelerator with all those wet labs we talked about is an order of magnitude higher. We're talking 5 to 10 times more expensive. The level of financial commitment is just enormous.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This direct quote from one of those internal reports just lays it bare. They don't pull any punches. The gap between where things are now and where they need to be is very large. That's a powerful admission, and it's absolutely crucial for understanding the scale of the task ahead.
So the bottom line is this. An accelerator, even an amazing one, can't succeed on its own. It's like building a fancy airport in the middle of a desert with no roads leading to it. Real success will only happen if they build the entire system around it. The physical labs, the human talent, the specialized money, and the smart regulations. It all has to work together as one integrated machine. Which leaves us with this final, massive question. Saudi Arabia clearly has the vision, it has the resources, and now it even has a clear-eyed plan to tackle its own weaknesses. But the question remains, can a powerful vision, even one backed by immense wealth, truly will an entire world-class ecosystem into existence?